already know that he has speed, he's got power. I know he's moving up in weight class, can he carry it? You know, but those intangibles, I believe that he has them.
Crawford has the ability, but he's small, you know, and he can look bigger Crawford could look bigger in the weigh-ins and all that stuff, but it's always a difference. When you get that fight with somebody, you can tell.
Too fast and too smart for Canelo. Even Canelo is a good boy. I'm not saying like nothing from not taking nothing from.
People everywhere are talking about the huge fight between Canelo and Crawford, and even famous trainer Turki Alalshikh shared what he really thinks. He said Terence Crawford can win no matter what weight he fights at because of his smart skills, strong focus, and ability to adjust. Atlas also said Canelo Alvarez is not the same as before, that he lost some of the hunger and fire that once made him so tough. He believes Canelo's recent fights show he is slowing down, even calling him overrated when compared to Crawford. For Atlas, Crawford's sharp mind and strong drive could make him the one to win.
The urgency's not there. The fire's not there. At least it wasn't there a week ago. At least I say that. It wasn't there a week ago. Maybe it'll be there now. Maybe he's the kind of guy that, and I get it, that at this point in their career, it has to be a big fight to get up. That Canelo can't get up for these fights. He couldn't get up for that fight. All right. If you want to go down that road, go ahead. But my road is still possible. That he got old, that it just doesn't have that fire no more. Oh, my God, I'm going to say this one. That maybe he's a little overrated.
Mean Machine, who once fought Terence Crawford, says size won't decide this fight with Canelo Alvarez. He believes Crawford is way too smart and skilled, and that his boxing brain is on another level. To him, the extra weight and bigger body don't matter when Crawford can read opponents, change his plan in the middle of the fight, and break them down. Mean says Crawford knows how to control speed, distance, and timing, things that are often more important than strength alone. In his view, the sharper, smarter fighter has the edge, and that fighter is clearly Terence Crawford.
Not good for Crawford. Canelo's too big. Right now, my position changed. I think Crawford is too fast and too smart for Canelo. Even Canelo is a good boy. I'm not saying like nothing from not taking nothing from Canelo, but the way like when you see like, oh, he's too big, when you see Usyk fights and what Usyk did to the big guys like Joshua and Fury, so the size and that doesn't matter.
And that's just because of what you saw Usyk do?
It's not like I'm just giving an example, like size doesn't matter in the boxing. When they say like, oh, like Canelo is big and he's fighting like 175, 168, and Crawford just moving from like 147, 154. So I'm just putting an example that size doesn't matter. I think it's just like that I see that Crawford's training and that he's big too right now. So he gained weight, but not like, and lots of people gain weight like that sloppy weight, like I would say like fat, but he gained like, he looked like strong, massively strong. So I think it's going to be a good one.
Mean Machine makes an interesting point when he looks back at Canelo Alvarez's fight with Floyd Mayweather in 2013. Back then, Canelo was younger, less experienced, and Mayweather outclassed him with speed, defense, and smart control of the ring. Mean Machine thinks Terence Crawford can use a similar game plan, moving well, landing sharp counters, and using accuracy to take away Canelo's main weapons. But he also notes one big difference: today's Canelo isn't the same fighter from 2013. Over the years, he's faced top-level opponents, learned how to adjust, and built the kind of patience that only experience brings.
So hard, but they just throw. And he throws like his calculation for the punches and like timing and aiming to the right spots is just like on another level.
Do you think that's going to be the thing that complicates the fight the most for Canelo?
I think so, yeah. And like, yeah, we can go back a little bit to Mayweather, Canelo, and Canelo. Yeah, Canelo was young and like Mayweather smart, but it can be like familiar fight like that. Even Canelo right now have more experience, and Crawford is still on his prime. So yeah, we will see.
From just your experience, you knowing boxing, like how do you think the fight will play out? Do you think it'll be a slow fight? Do you think it'll be tactical? Like, do you think Crawford?
I think it's gonna start a little bit slowly. they're gonna be careful with each other just to kind of like measure each other and see where they at. And like they're like that's why like they're like champs and they're like great ones. They just don't go like crazy like from the first round.
Regis Prograis sees things very differently. The former world champion doesn't believe Terence Crawford's punches will do much damage to a naturally bigger and iron-chin fighter like Canelo Alvarez. He points out that Canelo has already taken shots from some of the hardest punchers in the sport, guys much larger than Crawford, and has barely been shaken. Still, Prograis doesn't completely rule Crawford out. He admits that Crawford's skill, sharp strategy, and determination could carry him through. In his view, Crawford's world-class technique, ability to switch stances, and smart game planning make him a real threat, even against someone as tough and proven as Canelo.
I think that first, I think that Crawford has the ability to outbox Canelo. You got to look at, and then Canelo's older. Crawford has the ability, but he's small, and he can look bigger in. Crawford could look bigger in the weigh-ins and all that stuff, but it's always a difference. When you get that fight with somebody, you can tell. Same thing with Jamel. Jamel fought him, the twin. He fought Crawford, and in all the stuff, the weigh-ins and the press conference, Jamel looked like the bigger man. His head, his neck, everything looked bigger. But when they got in the fight, you can tell. You can see really was the bigger man. And I think that's the same thing. Crawford is putting on weight, but it's not weight like Canelo had the weight already. He doesn't have to put on muscle. He doesn't have to do that. He's already big like that. Canelo hit him and shit. Jamel was like, hell no. Jamel took a knee. So it's a big difference. And Crawford had that one fight at 154, and he didn't, Madrimov would touch him up a little bit. And this is nowhere close to Madrimov. You talk about Canelo. Now, if it was just another bigger guy, I would go with Crawford. But you talk about this might be, people might kill me for it, but well, not really, but this might be the best Mexican fighter ever.
Jose Vargas Jr., who has spent time sparring with Terence Crawford, sides with Regis Prograis in doubting Crawford's power. Vargas admits that Crawford is sharp, precise, and technically sound, but based on his own experience, he doesn't believe Crawford hits hard enough to truly hurt a fighter like Canelo Alvarez. He explains that Canelo has already taken punches from naturally bigger men with far greater power and yet has stood strong. Still, Vargas doesn't count Crawford out completely. He stresses that power isn't the only factor in boxing. Timing, accuracy, and consistency can slowly break down even the toughest fighters. However, in his eyes, Crawford's shots may not have the kind of weight needed to stop Canelo from marching forward and applying constant pressure.
Going to be done in camp.
All we're doing is putting the final touches. I've been sparring Ron Ellis. This guy is a dog, bro. He's been getting me ready. He's been Canelo's sparring partner. Shout out to my guy Ron, man. He comes, tries to knock me out every single sparring. This guy fights at 68, big dude, goes southpaw, and hits hard. So I know he fought Benavidez. So he's a veteran, and he's doing veteran tactics in there where he's not letting me rest in the clinch. He's making me work every second of every round. And I got something for Callum. I got something for the whole boxing world. And I feel you're just as good as your preparation. And we've been doing the road work. We've been doing the mountain work. I've been recovering hard. I've been getting my rest. I haven't been drinking no dark sodas, bro. I'm feeling like Tyson Fury right now, bro. Like
Mickey Bay doesn't hold back when it comes to his opinion on this fight. He accuses Canelo Alvarez of cherry picking, saying the Mexican star has a history of carefully choosing opponents, often waiting until the timing or size works in his favor. In this case, Bay believes Canelo looked at Crawford as a smaller man moving up in weight, which gives him a natural physical advantage. Some boxing fans and analysts share this view, arguing that Canelo is leaning on size and strength rather than facing someone closer to his own frame. Still, Bay makes it clear this doesn't mean Crawford should be overlooked. He stresses that Crawford's ring IQ, adaptability, and skill set are so sharp that even against a bigger, stronger opponent, he has the tools to turn the fight on its head.
That size comparison type of a thing to make it seem like it's not a type of cherry pick that he has to go up into this battle.
So he a lot bigger. See, people looking at height. Height don't got nothing to do with weight and where you've been fighting at. Like, Terrence put his weight on, so it's a difference. No, Canelo's a lot bigger, like hands down. Like just mass, as far as mass, he naturally that thick. He got to come down. Terrence, just because your weight is up there, that don't mean that's like putting a dude Benavidez as a heavyweight. He might walk around at 205 or whatever, That don't mean he a heavyweight though. So Canelo was by far the bigger man. We didn't seen him hit. We didn't seen him hit dudes 6'3", 6'2" in the arm, and hurt him. Like he didn't hurt Kovalev light heavyweight. So I mean, didn't he have a light heavyweight title? Okay, well he might have only fought there a couple times, but the fact that he fought up there though, and he fought way up in light heavyweight, but he been at super middleweight for a minute, so he the bigger guy for sure. So really, he got to hurt Crawford, or he got to get his major respect. He got to get his major respect to make Crawford feel like he got to survive. If he can't do that, then he probably ain't gonna win.
Tom Loeffler looks at things from another angle. He isn't worried about size, power, or even fairness. For him, the real story is the spectacle. As a promoter, he sees Canelo vs. Crawford as one of the most marketable fights of this era. Both men are global superstars with massive fan bases that stretch across countries and cultures, making the matchup bigger than boxing itself. Loeffler points out that fights like this grab mainstream attention, pulling in not just hardcore boxing fans, but also casual viewers who normally wouldn't tune in. In his eyes, this isn't just a fight, it's an event that transcends the sport.
Being in the ring on such a high-profile show, it's huge. It doesn't get any bigger than that, and you got to give credit to both guys. They're both very confident. They both have very passionate fan bases. Callum, having fought in Dublin, packed the arena out there, the 3 Arena, having fought at Madison Square Garden 3 times, fought in Boston, and then Fernando Jr., from one of the biggest boxing named families, in the history of boxing. He's going to bring out a huge fan base. So it's a really exciting addition to, such a big show that like I said, doesn't get any bigger than that for sure.
Turki Alalshikh's fingerprints are all over this fight. Widely regarded as the driving force behind its creation, the Saudi power broker has become the man who makes the impossible possible in boxing. His financial muscle and global influence have brought dream fights to life, but not without controversy. Critics argue that Canelo vs. Crawford is less about competitiveness and more about spectacle, pointing to the clear size disparity between the two. Yet, even those critics admit one thing: without Alalshikh, this fight wouldn't exist. By bringing 2 of boxing's biggest stars together on the same stage, he has once again reshaped the sports landscape. Whether fans view it as a mismatch or a masterpiece, Alalshikh has guaranteed the world a once-in-a-generation event.
Benavidez Jr. Canelo, would have mopped up all of these dudes, bro. Would have mopped up all of these dudes. Like, when we're coming out and saying that this is a complete mismatch, and this is a joke, and this is a fantasy fight, you know what I'm saying, that Turki Alalshikh dreamed of, and we know he's a big Crawford fan, knowing the level of star power that Canelo Alvarez has, and he had the bag to make this fight happen. It doesn't mean that it's a logical fight for boxing, bro. At the end of the day, man, you guys tell me if Terence Crawford would have beat Triple G. Tell me if he would have beat Billy Joe Saunders. Tell me if he could beat Bivol, even though, yeah, Canelo didn't beat Bivol, but tell me if he could have beat a Sergey Kovalev. And the other loss Canelo has to Mayweather, man. Crawford, nobody in the world, I felt, could have beat Mayweather in the height of his career, bro. Tell me if Crawford, bro, would have just flat out went in there and beat a guy like Miguel Cotto, Daniel Jacobs. You know what I'm saying, bro? Like, it's the level of competition that Canelo faced, man. And these dudes that he went in there to beat.
Dave Coldwell zeroes in on what makes Terence Crawford so dangerous: versatility. The veteran trainer argues that Crawford's ability to seamlessly switch between orthodox and southpaw isn't just a party trick, it's a weapon. By changing angles and disrupting rhythm, Crawford forces opponents into hesitation, never letting them get comfortable. Coldwell highlights another key asset: footwork. Crawford doesn't just move, he glides, darting in and out of range, pivoting away from danger, and resetting the fight on his terms. Against a pressure fighter like Canelo, who thrives on cutting off the ring and walking opponents down, this mobility could be the ultimate equalizer. Coldwell insists that if Crawford maintains discipline, using lateral movement, keeping distance, and refusing to be trapped on the ropes, he can frustrate Canelo and steal rounds. To him, this fight won't be about raw power, war. It will be about IQ, composure, and movement. And in those departments, Crawford has every tool to make the difference.
From when the fight got made, I've always fancied Crawford. I just think it's different. I think there's something about him. I think if you add what Crawford's good at, his brain, he can switch. He's very good as a southpaw. His judgment of distance is fantastic. His punch picking is fantastic. He's got good legs. When you add what, and he can pop. I mean, listen, he might. I'm not saying he's got the power to hurt Canelo, but he might have the power to surprise Canelo a little bit and just sting him and just. But when you look at what Crawford does well, and then I look at this version of Canelo, as Canelo's got on, his punch rate's gone down.
That's it for today's video. Stay tuned until next time.